Afterburner, rolling right into it. It's like literally, it's really funny because when you watch YouTube or you watch different episodes and stuff, I always perceive it as, oh, well, they like set up and then they hit record and then they record like segments or whatever and they all edit all this stuff. But then when we're recording stuff, it's like hit the camera, record, and then we just talk through like straight, sometimes like 2 or 3 episodes worth of stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting being on this side of things.
Yeah.
You know, I spend more of my time on that side of things. But I guess over time, from what I understand, is if you're like a YouTuber or media influencer and you build an audience, which honestly, if you're going to get into the industry of like doing anything, the biggest thing you can do for investing or for anything is building an audience. That's the big thing right now.
Yeah.
But part of it that I heard also is eventually in the future, when you're doing more of being on this side of the camera, you do a lot less of being on that side of the camera. I think Rhett and Link actually talked about it. They were making a joke one time. Somebody was like, oh, you don't know who this person is? And they said, well, we're on the internet, but we're not like on the internet. I was like, oh yeah, I get like, why would you be? Because you already spend so much time on doing this. Like, why would you like spend all your day doing that? Yeah. Because now you're freeing up time, hopefully, to like
do hobbies or whatever else.
Yeah, spend time with your family and everything. Or spend time spending your stimulus money.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like related to this episode because, again, disclaimer here, we're not financial advisors.
Exactly.
This is purely entertainment purposes. I hate that like you have to say purely entertainment because on one hand, like I believe some of the things that like I'll tell people about like, oh, like good ideas for money. But then you have to say that because if anybody does the thing and you don't say that, then I guess they can sue you or something.
I don't understand that because I mean you can hear a lot of hearsay about a lot of things. Like who knows? Like I heard that the dog like dropped a bomb in my yard, so that caused me to go buy this stock, and now I'm going to sue my neighbor because the stock didn't do well. It's like I don't know, like just because someone told you to buy something, that doesn't mean that they're responsible. But
is it only because it's in like recorded format? Like, so if I walked up to my neighbor and said, "Hey, I heard this about Tesla's going up," or no, Tesla's going down, buy puts, and and he goes and does that and loses like 100,000 of his life savings or something like that, can he blame me and sue me?
Like a he said, she said thing if it was just verbal, but if it's on recording, then they have proof that you said it. Yeah. But isn't it like, shouldn't there be something on him for believing you? It's like, yeah, I just invested like my entire net worth, like I liquided everything. And
No, this is America.
Just because my neighbor said to buy a put on...
There is no personal accountability here. You do not have personal responsibility. Get that out of here. No. But when it comes to finances, there's a lot of like personal accountability, responsibility that you're supposed to take. So one thing that I've been telling some people, this was really fun. I told somebody else this the other day, and this was great because I was at one of my friends' houses, and if they're watching this, and they're supporting us on Patreon. If you're watching this, you're supporting us on Patreon. Thank you. Which I doubt it. So I'm not going to say their names, but I was at their house. I was talking about, what I'm going to do is we have a HELOC, a home equity line of credit on our house. Mm-hmm. And I say, you should take the stimulus money. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pay off the HELOC with any stimulus money, free money that comes in, because the money that I borrowed is more valuable than the money the government is now giving me. So I'm getting a 2-for-1 deal. And one of the guys was like, that's not true. And the other guy's like, actually, that is exactly right. Like the money that, if you borrow money previously, like HELOCs or mortgages or debts, your money in past pre any of the stimulus or larger government debt is more valuable. Obviously, this could change over time if they pay off debt or change inflation or deflation or whatever. Yeah. But like, if you use stimulus money, which is exactly what the government doesn't want you to do, is to pay off debts and invest in the stock market. But if you do that, you're actually, that's the best thing you can do for it, is pay off your debts. So that's one thing that I'm working towards, is like, oh yeah, let's like put as much money towards paying off that, because all this free money, we could go like buy things and stimulate the economy. That's what they want us to do with it. Or we could buy some nice things that we could use, or like use it to like pay for other things that are coming up. But honestly, like the best thing that you can do is literally pay off your debts with the stimulus money. And if like you have, so if you're single, you get like, with the next round, they're talking about $2,000 is the next round. It's
$1,400 or $2,000. They're still debating it, but like, so originally they were just going to do $600. And then there was a lot of talk about like, you should be doing $2,000. Like, and then they ended up with just the 600, I think, is where they settled. But there's still a lot of encouragement or talk about doing it 2,000. So the second round of stimulus will probably be either 1,400 or 2,000. Because I think what they're doing is like, well, we should have done 2,000. We've already given them 600, so we'll take 2,000 minus 600. So that's 1,400. We'll give them the difference. So that you end up at 2,000, but if they give 2,000 now, it'll be 2,600 net.
But I think so. In the end, though, they're because the Democrats swept everything. I'm gonna just assume they're just gonna go straight 2,000 because 2,000 is an easier number, probably.
Yeah, it's a more even number.
Which realistically, or not realistically, what they really want to do, from what I understand, is actually give everybody $12,000 a month ongoing as long as the pandemic. Like that's actual just like UBI. I think that was the far left view on it. Is what they want to do.
Well, so it's not so much as a far left view anymore. I mean, it is still held by the far left view. I mean, but now, because of Andrew Yang, I mean, he was pushing for 2,000, but he was actually suggesting more. Mm-hmm. But I think that was more of like even outside of the pandemic that people should be getting at least, if not more, $2,000 a month. But because of the pandemic, we're trying to replace salaries, honestly.
Which, if you give that much money away,
it's kind of a lot.
Money becomes a lot less valuable.
Yeah.
And also, if you're married, if they were giving you $12,000 a month, you'd be getting $250,000 a year. And if you don't just go and spend it, that's a lot of money. But then again, also it's not a lot of money because money becomes worth a lot less when you have a lot more of it, I think.
Yeah. From
what I understand. But right now, if you can take your stimulus checks and you don't have to pay for like food and essentials, I would advocate for paying down debts or investing, like buy real estate or buy in stocks.
So I'm actually I'm probably going to be reinvesting in my current home because there's some things I need to update and to do. So but these are things that are adding value to the house.
Yeah.
So that makes my investment, having bought the house, even better.
Yeah.
It's almost like paying down the debt. And I would say if you're using this money to pay down the debt, be sure that you're not paying the interest part.
Yes.
you can specify that it go directly to principal.
Yes.
And that's what you should be doing. Don't give the banks part of your stimulus through interest.
They would like
principal.
that. But...
Oh yeah, of course they would. But hit the principal.
Yep. There's a little checkbox.
Yeah.
I know there's on my HELOC when I go pay down some extra from the last stimulus thing, it's a little checkbox and it's like to principal.
Yep, do that.
And it really, really helps you because then you're low. If you have a fixed mortgage thing, it's probably not changing your monthly rate. But if you have a HELOC, it lowers how much you're paying per month and how much interest and stuff. So
they rework the amortization table over the remainder of the remainder of months of your loan and figure out. Yeah, with the HELOC's a little different. I think with a regular traditional mortgage, you can't. They're not going to adjust that.
No, they don't.
Unless you got a variable rate, which I would hope you didn't.
No.
You want to lock in that rate when it's low.
That's low. I think it's 3%.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what we got. And that was early last year, which is a whole nother crazy story of how we got that loan, that HELOC. I don't know how. Just thankfully because of Corona, it came out, they didn't even look at our house. They didn't even come and appraise the property.
They do a drive-by is what they call it. They drive by the house and they just kind of, that looks like a 2-bedroom, 3-bath or whatever, and they just keep going. It's crazy. So they do by satellite too.
Yep. So the guy's supposed to walk through the house and everything, but because of Corona, he didn't walk. And he said he put in there, he wrote, and he said, wild assumptions about the value of this property. I think he was just trying to write down the fact that I didn't go in the house and there's no way you can know how much this house is worth. And if you walked around it, what they valued at would have made rough sense, but it was pretty rough inside. But we actually used, so we got a small loan because you can just take out a loan. Getting a loan from the bank is really easy. Honestly, if you have decent credit and you have some money or whatever, you can just go there and be like, hey, give me 30 or 50 grand. And they'd be like, okay, and here's a loan. And that was easy. But getting a HELOC, they had to have a lawyer come out here and sign hundreds of papers and things. And that was a long process.
Is your HELOC through your mortgage company?
No, it's through our same bank. So we borrow money from...
I thought that'd be easier if they already got all this information. You had my mortgage.
Nope.
Why are you doing all? Okay.
It was so we didn't get a mortgage for the property. We just got just money. They'll just hand you money and be like, this is not based on the value of anything. So if you're just going and borrowing money from the bank, that's not based on an asset. They'll just give you the money. There's no collateral, and so they're just here's money. And then in this case, we rolled it into the HELOC, so that one went away and then rolled over to there. Mm-hmm. But I was just stunned by the fact that they would just give you money based on no collateral, just more of the idea that, hey, you'll be fine. But I guess that's what credit card companies do, but at just a much worse rate for you.
Yeah.
I don't remember the percentage on...
It's double digits.
Yeah, so borrowing like
be.
at your own bank is probably somewhere between. I mean, it's probably a lot lower now that they messed with things, but it's somewhere between like 5 and 10%.
Yeah.
But if you go borrow on your credit card, it's like 26% in some cases. It's crazy.
It's not good. That's what kills people.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta be careful about that.
Which, speaking of credit cards, so who is it? Graham Stephan? He's a finance
real
YouTuber.
estate guy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
does real estate. He's a YouTuber.
Yeah. So he's really popular in the space, and he was doing his yearly recommendation for credit cards. And one of the credit cards he came up with, we use one of the wholesaler Sam's Club things, because Sam's Club used to give you, and I don't know, I'll have to look into this, but they sent out a letter that was a bit confusing, but you'd get 5% cash back on gas purchases at any gas station. I was like, that is an incredible deal. If you again, like, I don't advocate for credit cards, but if you can be careful with them and only use something for what you intend to do with it, then you could probably, like, it pays off. If you're buying gas, you're easily like getting money back to pay off owning a Sam's membership and then some. It's pretty easy to do. But he showed another one on there that was giving you 5% cash back on all grocery purchases.
Wow.
And when you're looking at it, it's like, well, if we add up our whole grocery budget, it's more like $300 to $400 a year you get back, which isn't like a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but at the same time, being given free money just for doing your normal purchases.
Yeah.
If you figure out how to get 5% cash back in all your different categories with various cards, I mean, that's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, you're just washing those transactions through something that's going to give you cash back. So, like, I do something with my bank where I get like 1%, 3%, and 5%. I get to choose the categories. And the money that's accumulated, if I opt to have it directly deposited into my savings account, rather than spend it on whatever rewards they offer, like you can get 5% off at Foot Locker or something. It's like, I don't care about that. just give me the cash straight to my savings account. If I opt to do that, they give me an additional percent onto it. So I'm making.
Well, we're gonna need to talk about that one after.
Yeah, it's like $40 a month extra.
Okay,
I just get for like, because I put all my expenses through the card, like everything through the card, and so I get a lot of cash back. And it all gets deposited into my savings account. There's like a percentage on top of that for having done that. So
there's a lot of good options out there, I think.
Yeah, it's not as good now because I actually got an Amazon card.
Oh, wow.
So I go to Costco, and Costco, they dumped American Express and did Visa, and I didn't have a Visa card, so I got an Amazon credit card, which is Visa, so I could easily, I didn't have to put, debit transactions and have access to my checking accounts. So now I kind of split some of my Amazon purchases off to this thing, but I get 5% back on all Amazon purchases. They come back as points directly onto my next purchase, so maybe it balances out. I didn't sit down with like an Excel spreadsheet and like sort it all out to find out, but at the end of when it all shook out at the end of the month, it's like, it's pretty much tracking the same, so maybe it didn't really, still good.
I hear like the Apple Card gets you good percentages back, but that's more if you like buy Apple products. It does give you like a 1% back on everything. You go broke buying
Apple products.
Oh, I know. Like if you get an Apple Card, you're
all
probably
those
buying
monitor stands.
Oh man, some of that stuff's pricey.
Like $1,200, $1,500 for a monitor stand.
Yeah.
Now I saw the reviews on it. That was a solid stand. Like you could probably, it's like a bassinet quality. You could put your kid on there and hold them up just right. So, like, I mean...
That's what I want to buy.
But if you have, like, a $2,000 monitor, you probably want to invest in a $1,200 stand and make sure that thing never falls.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not going to buy a $1,200 monitor stand, but... Yeah. A little rabbit trail there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all money related. And so, like, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, he probably wouldn't agree with everything that we're saying now. But I do agree with him in the fact that, like, most of finances... This is related just with the stock market and all this stuff. It's less about numbers and it's more about behavior, and that is like the hardest thing. Being
act your wage, I think is what it was Ramsey says.
Exactly, like that makes a lot of sense. Like you can spend more if you make the money to do it, but you also have to like think about things like paying yourself first and like saving, investing, various other things, and our society is very much. I mean, you look at them giving us stimulus money for the very fact of buying stuff. It is like a highly marketed consumeristic society, and that's not really good for like there's so many people out there, as Dave Ramsey says, like want to part you from your money. And even that's what like the credit cards, that's why they like give you all these points and stuff, because they really expect people not to pay off the debt. They think like, oh, you hear a lot of people like, well, if you just like don't ever pay this debt down, it's better because like tax incentives and stuff. But I understand, like, there's something to be said for both, like, debt being a tool, but also being, like, a slave to debt. Like, you can have both things. So you have to figure out, like, how to be in debt the right way, because I'm partially, like, you have to have debt to own a house, like, or to buy a house initially.
Yeah.
It's almost inevitable. To save up and buy a house flat out, I don't know of anybody who's done that. Unless they won the lottery, but...
I lived with my parents for a while, saved up 20% down payment.
Yep.
I mean, I could have kept living with them for many more years and then eventually bought a house with cash, but I actually came close to buying a house with cash because I found like a foreclosure. It was like $15,000.
Wow.
And it was like on an acre of land and had like a double wide condemned kind of trailer on it, but it's like
condemned.
It was barely condemned. Like you could, there didn't
only slightly haunted.
Yeah, I think it needed about like maybe $1,000 worth of work and then to de-winterize the pipes, and then that was it. I was like, I could probably pay this in cash, should be nice, but it wasn't a really good buy in terms of location. It was underneath one of the power lines, and I was like.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
At least you'd have a house in 7 fingers, but.
No. Credit cards can be a liability if you lack discipline. So like for me, I use a credit card for everything, but I treat it as if like if I don't have money in my account to cover this at the end of the month, I'm not buying it.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of people are just like, well, it's free money, I'm just going to use it. Well, now you're on the hook. And that, I mean, the entire credit card market exists because people lack discipline with this kind of thing, and they're booming in terms of business. So like, there's a lot of this kind of stuff. So that's why I understand when Dave Ramsey will say like, don't get a credit card, because he knows that most people listening are probably not disciplined enough, and it's a liability. But if you just pay it off every month, the whole balance, like don't do the minimum payment, just pay off the whole thing every single month, you'll probably be okay. And then you can reap these benefits like the cashback bonuses, the miles if you want to do that. So I actually had a coworker, he knew that he was going to be in this project of just traveling all over the state doing installs. This is a company I used to work for. And so he would be staying in hotels like constantly. Like he was just in a different hotel every other day. So he picked up a credit card, like a Marriott card or whatever. And so he just racked up like free nights. Like over the course of the year and a half that he did this, he just had like tons of it, and he was able to just go on vacations, fully paid at this lodging. He had to pay the airfare, but like if you get like 2 weeks free in Cabo or something, it's like, why not? You know?
That's pretty good.
So you can make it work.
Yeah,
just gotta be careful. Discipline.
I think a lot of people if you sit down and do a budget. Now I was about to say a lot of people who do their budget. It's like a lot of people don't do their budget or don't budget at all. But like if you're going to do it and you're going to use a credit card, like say that you do a Sam's Club or a Costco or something, you have something specific. This card is for buying gas at gas stations. You have to have that in your budget. Like that works together. You say this is how much we spend on gas. This card is only for spending gas, and then you always will have the money to pay that off because that's the only thing you spend on that card, and that line items in your budget. If you don't put in there, you're gonna run into a pickle. And but an interesting thing about like business cards also is if you can find a place that your business has a recurring expense that you can put on a card that gives you points in something, there's probably a really good place for that, because I know in the print on demand space, which is like printing t-shirts and mugs and stuff like that, if you get into that business and you're selling a lot of product, you're going to move over to a service usually because the margins are higher, where they will charge you for the material. When somebody goes to your website and makes a purchase, like I'm going to buy this t-shirt that you designed, they're going to charge you for the material, then they're going to make it and everything, and then they're going to ship it out to the person, and then after it's like sent out and the person's payment is secured, then they're going to pay you what the person sent in, their payment minus like whatever their fee is. And so during that time that they charged you a fee for the materials and the processing of it, you can put that on your card. Like I know there's several other YouTubers who talk about this. I think Wholesale Ted and Greg something or other. But they talk about this. Like you put it on a card, and then your business is just sitting there making sales, charging it here, and you're paying it off with that stuff, and you're automatically getting all these points, and you can go on like free flights and various things and use business class or whatever it might be. So if you have a business expense and you have recurring things, you can use it in that way too. I think is viable, but
smart.
You got to be careful. Like of course,
you got to be careful.
Debt is a scary thing if you just don't use it right and you get into too much of it. But when the government's giving free money and wanting to forgive all the student loans, I don't know, everything's out the window suddenly.
Yeah.
Money is worthless.
Fiat cash.
Yeah, exactly. Buy Bitcoin. No. Which, as of this recording, Bitcoin is like at $42,000-ish thousand.
I don't really get into the crypto space.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I believe in the technology, and anytime I've been telling several people this lately, like anytime somebody puts the word invest in cryptocurrency or invest in Bitcoin together, I just, because it's not an investment. Like, you would never say, hey, go and invest in some British pounds, or go invest in the euro, or go invest in the US dollar. That doesn't make any sense, because the technology and what the cryptos are doing it's supposed to be a new type of currency in the future. And it's not an investment in that way.
Yeah.
But because people are treating it like that, like a stock or like a casino,
they get burned.
That, and also they basically turned it into an investment of some sort. So I'm like, that's not what it's made for, and that's not what it's supposed to do. I know, it's really confusing me. It's like, money, I don't know, whatever. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I know more of the technology side of it, and I believe in the technology of what they're doing with it. But what people are doing with it, like as like a gamble, it's not going to really work.
Yeah, it's highly risky.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I think that's all I have for today. We talked about money stuff.
Yeah, we went way off of what.
Well, I mean, like,
that doesn't matter. That's the point.
Money. We talked about money in the episode, right? Like, people jumping out windows because of money.
Yeah.
Yep. You putting new windows in your house because of money.
Stronger ones you can't open. This is the second floor.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I hope you enjoyed it, and we appreciate your support on Patreon.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, share it with your friends and bring more people into the community, and we hopefully will see you guys over on Discord.
Yeah.
Check you out next time.
All right, see ya.
Check us out next time, not you. All right, see you guys later.
See ya.